Tanner, I love you. Grateful for you. And I'm super stoked. Thanks for taking time to meet with me.
I'm pumped to be here.
As I was thinking about this interview, which I've been trying to get done forever now.
But it's happening.
It's happening. I was trying to think of a story that kind of highlights the way you train, the way you perform. And Hunter just brought up that story of cold showers. So I remember specifically on the cruise, when you're coming up with incentives and challenges, like I feel like one of your greatest attributes is your personal self-discipline. And it's one thing to be very self-disciplined, but it's another thing to transfer that over to leaderships and behave in that way. And I remember when you issued that cold shower challenge and then you backed it up, I think with Andrew Huberman, I was like, oh, like that's something like I want to try. And like to this day, dude, I do cold showers and I can credit you for getting me into doing cold baths, man. So like, would you mind kind of talking a little bit about how you came up with that idea, why it was important for your leadership at the time, and then like the results were pretty awesome. We can talk about that too.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people talk about as a leader, you should be leading from the front.
Yeah.
And I think that's true definitely in sales. But on the other part, I think I should be leading from the front in everything that I am and everything that I'm doing. And so self-discipline, I think, is the biggest one, because if you can master yourself, then you can go master anything else that you're doing. It doesn't matter whether you wake up and you're tired, or if you're like getting in the shower and like you don't want to take a cold shower. Like if you can go master that then and get really, really good at doing things uncomfortably, then you can go do anything else you want to. And so the whole goal with that, we did a discipline challenge where it was that. And then they also couldn't click snooze.
Can we talk about that a little bit at that time? Because I think one of your greatest strengths is like you're really good at understanding what's going on, or acutely understanding like what your leadership means. So I feel like a cold shower challenge would be good at any point. But like specifically at that time, to be honest, some of our leadership was struggling with discipline.
Yeah.
And so this was your response to that, right?
Yeah. And then launching it to all the different reps, it held the leaders accountable as well as the sales reps accountable, which was like a double whammy. It helped the sales reps actually be prepped for the summer. And then the leaders, they were leading from the front and they got the respect of their sales reps. So we did it. Let's see, when did we launch that? That was in March, beginning of March.
Yeah.
And so the idea, I had already done it for 3 months straight at that point. Like I was looking to build up my own self-discipline. I found that, and I found waking up, like not clicking the alarm, like, or not clicking snooze when the alarm goes off. Because like when you can go do that, that's self-discipline. And taking the cold shower, I learned about all the benefits of it from Andrew Huberman, of like the dopamine that's released, like the sustained dopamine that goes throughout that, like where it becomes addictive to take cold showers. But it's also when you go and do that, the ability to do that every single day, that increases your ability to just be uncomfortable. And so like that, the whole idea of that was right before the summer starts. Everybody, a lot of them have already started doing sales training. They've already been prepping for the summer. They understand kind of what they're getting into. But if you can go prep their self-discipline as well, like so that they when they get on the doors and it's uncomfortable, or when it's really hot or whatever it is, they can go just succeed. And especially as a leader, like I think that was the biggest impact, is helping leaders go and do something really challenging, like get out of their comfort zone.
I think that's something like we preach a lot here at Moxie, right? Like you're not growing unless you're consistently stepping outside your comfort zone. And for me, that was really cool to jump into that and participate because like I definitely loved my hot showers in the morning, but doing the cold showers like honestly was hard. But like, yeah, it got super addictive, but it was kind of really fun because this became like a cultural thing with you and your group of guys where everybody got bought in. The leadership was doing it. The team leaders were doing it. And then all of a sudden the sales reps just kind of picked it up as well. You know, I think that was like one of the many things you did to help prepare your leaderships and your reps to come out and like have a really amazing summer. Just so everyone knows, like you've recruited hundreds of reps, just shy of 100 team leaders. You put on over $13 million in revenue. Like that's a huge resume to bring to the table. So, you know, when I'm looking at people and they're trying to answer the question of like, why should I work with X? Like for you, I think you will definitely be a more disciplined individual over the course of working with you from whatever that time period, whether it's a few months, a whole summer, or quite a few of your directors of sales that have been working with you for years.
Yeah. My whole goal is to find somebody that can outpace me in discipline.
Yeah.
Like that, because then that forces everybody else, those that are competitive, that want to go become better versions of themselves. Like that is how you do it. Like they want somebody that can go push them. They want somebody that can actually challenge what they're capable of doing. And so we did that challenge. It was only until the middle of April. And I noticed almost all of my reps kept doing it all summer long. Like, and one of the rookie of the year this past summer, he did just shy of 400 accounts. He did it all summer long. like cold showers all summer long. He's doing 75 hard with me right now as well. And so, and a lot of the reps with that, they kept it up. And I think the challenge is that it's like, okay, what am I capable of doing? How far can I push myself? And I think especially like right now, like a lot of us that are doing door-to-door sales and like are still going out there every summer, like we're still in our 20s. And so like now,
me too.
Yeah, basically the same.
Basically.
And so like that's the time where we should be pushing ourselves, seeing what we're capable of doing. And so it's fun for me. It's fun to go surround myself with people that are just, they want to be more self-disciplined, because then that forces me to be better. Because like my whole goal is to continually be the person that others would want to aspire to be. And so I think that's one of it.
I think you're nailing it, because you can look at your directors of sales and like many of your team leaders, like they've been with you for years. And like you're somebody that's really good at getting people to go do things they don't like. I think one of my favorite things about you is in the preseason and during the summer, like you go all out getting guys to perform and to do really fun events on the weekends. And even this past summer, just so people are aware, like you had the highest averages per office, you had the highest contract value per office, but as well as like you produced the highest performing experienced rep and the highest performing rookie rep. Like that's a lot of years. Like that didn't just happen at once. Like this is years of like discipline and really focusing on building your character. And so for a lot of reps that may be viewing this for the first time, as they're starting to build their culture and they're trying to replicate like high performance, like I guess what would be a simple outline for them to go follow besides, just following exactly what you do?
Yeah, that's fair. You're, what is, to repeat your question, you're saying what is a simple outline that they could go do to become a top performer, to go succeed? Yeah,
like when you're very, very good at creating top performing offices, like whether it's directly with your team that you're able to take to Rio or within offices that you've worked in over the course of the summer. People are always going to be have asked like, how did you do that? And that's a lot more that can happen in a simple conversation.
Yeah.
But to try to answer that, like what's an outline that you would give to people?
Overall consistency. Because if the consistency will beat out anything else. Like the person who can go sell really, really well one day and then they fail the next day. Like that person is not going to be the best performer. It's the person that can consistently perform every single day, even if it's slightly less than somebody else's best day. Like if they can just stay consistent. And so in looking at the top salesmen, like what they can go do to continually improve, I think there's three things. So the first one is improving their sales skills. The second one is their discipline and effectiveness on the doors. And then the third one is just general consistency and like their time on the doors. And so if you're looking at sales skills, I think there's a point where a lot of people start peaking. And I think that is really beneficial. But I think that's probably out of all three is the last one. Like the self-discipline, when you're effective on the doors, when you're fully mentally present on the doors all day long, like that, I think that takes discipline, especially when you're tired, when you're just like knocking doors and nobody's answering, being mentally present the entire time like that. I think that is one of the best ways to go improve your sales skills and like improve the amount of sales that you're getting throughout the summer.
Well, and like I'm super guilty of being super spacey. Like I've got ADD pretty bad. Maybe you've picked up on that, right? But I think that's key. Like when I'm trying to be mentally present or focused, or when I've seen reps do that as well, like there's one thing, to zombie knock on the doors and hit your check marks, but it's completely different to stay mentally checked in. And I get lots of these phone calls. I know you do too, but something that every rep I think will face consistently over the summer is discouragement. Yeah. Like the day didn't go the way they'd hoped. There was a rain cloud, whatever. Reps often reach out to me, and I know they reach out to you when something's not right in their pitch to get it corrected. So when you have a rep calls you that's struggling, like what's the first thing you try to diagnose?
Their mental state. Because it's like, I think there are things that could be off in their approach, but it's what is their focus? Like what is going through their head at that time? Because a lot of times they're like, oh yeah, what's wrong? And it's like, oh, actually, it could be your features and benefits are off, or your intro is off, but it doesn't look like you're knocking doors, or it looks like you're knocking doors and you're giving up right after they say no, like immediately once you start talking to them. And so it's like, how do you go change that? How do you go help them be mentally engaged and actually focus on the doors? Because me helping somebody close or overcome objections, that doesn't matter at all if they're not fully mentally present and committed to getting that sell. And so that's the first thing I look at. And I think if I'm trying to fix it beforehand, it's help them get attached emotionally to the process rather than the end result. And it's like, if their whole focus is, hey, like I'm going to go push through multiple objections. I'm going to push through to price. I'm going to push through and like continually add value until they shut the door in my face. Like I'm committed to that process. Doesn't matter whether I get the sale. Then they slowly start shifting and figuring out how to get the sale. But like if they're solely focused on the sale, I mean, you and I both have had days like, I mean, you sold over 400 accounts. You're like back in the day when, yeah, I feel like that's equivalent to more like 800 accounts now.
Thanks,
and
man. It is.
You're not that old, but
a few years ago.
Yeah. But so like that being said, like you're not always selling like 5 or 10 a day. Like I mean, every now and then you have a crappy day, you sell like 2 or 3. And so but that being said, if you're still mentally, or emotionally attached to the process, then that's okay. Cause then you don't quit when you're knocking sales, cause you're just knocking doors and you're just like, yeah, regardless, like I'm attached to knocking doors, whether I'm getting a sale or not. Like I'm not giving up, I'm not quitting. And like that is how you go succeed. And I think a rookie, if they can attach themselves emotionally to the process, no matter what, and not give up, then that is how they go succeed. That is how they go achieve what they're capable of doing over the summer.
And what I think is so smart, I kind of shared about this in our Hawaii training a little bit. But I was reading a book on high performing cultures and sales reps, and they said a mistake often that people make, and I know I've made this mistake too, is like we don't get emotionally attached. Like we focus on a number, like I want 10 accounts or I want to do 1,000 accounts this summer.
Yeah.
And when you're hitting the wall thinking I want to do 1,000 accounts, it doesn't really motivate you. But when you can understand the feeling that you're trying to create, what you're trying to pursue, and put emotion behind it, that's when you unlock big results. And I've seen that in you, and I've seen that in lots of reps, right? Like you get a high from having your first 5 day, then 5 days aren't a big deal. Then it's a 10 day, right? And then once you get hooked on understanding and chasing that feeling and that process, like that's what I've seen what you do, and particularly top performers do as well. And I think speaks a lot to your experiences, like, and your emotional intelligence is understanding how people need to feel to get the result that they're looking for. Like you said, like, it's not necessarily that their approach stinks. It's like what's going on in your head right now that's keeping you distracted. Like if you're feeling discouraged yesterday, you wouldn't have sold 10, right? And I think you're really good at helping guys course correct and go hit their goals.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from me not doing that the best initially. And so something that I've changed a lot over the past like 2 or 3 years is when somebody has a really, really good day, I don't blow it up anymore. Cause like they've already had a solid dopamine release. Like I'm going to go give them the recognition, but I've actually done that significantly less over the past 2 years than I have like in previous years. Cause I would have somebody, I'd blow it up and then they would have like a average day or a bad day the next day. And then like, that's like, they're like, oh, I'm completely disappointed. Like I just give up, I quit. And so doing that, not making it so that I'm not blowing it up, basically reducing their highs so they're not as high and increasing their lows so they're not as low. Like that was my goal, is just keep it more stable. And doing that with a lot of reps. I mean, we had multiple people in the DC area sell, if not close to 400 accounts, like well over 400 accounts. Yeah. And which was awesome.
At massive
and like 500 level
contract
reps.
values too.
Yeah.
That we're pushing super hard with like great retention.
Yeah. Which is, and I think the biggest thing is just being able to stay level headed, is not letting everything get to your head, whether it's bad or good. And so like that's the same thing, like when they have 10, it's like, that's awesome. Like, what are you going to go do to keep doing that? Like rather than, yeah, like good job, like you're amazing, like you should take the day off. Like, yeah. Like rather than that, it was just like, yeah, what are you going to do to keep that? Like because I mean, you've done that multiple times. Like, how are you going to keep consistently doing that?
Yeah. Well, I think consistency is key. And I think it's something like you're a consistent top producer, like year after year. And so if I'm a new team leader and I'm new in this industry, I'm for sure like wanting to work with you. Like you've produced hundreds of team leaders, over 13 million in revenue. And like you consistently like recruit hundreds of reps every single year. And so like my question for you is, if you're someone new or you're taking a look at this video, what do you look for in a team leader? Like when you sit down and you interview someone, what's something people say or do, you're like, I want to go do anything I can to work with that guy?
Yeah. If I'm looking at a first year rep and like if I'm interviewing somebody to come sell with me and I'm thinking this guy is for sure a possible future team leader.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is emotional intelligence and self-discipline. Because like the emotional intelligence, if they can go read other people, they recognize when they should say certain things, when they shouldn't. Like that is huge. Because like nobody wants to be with a jerk. Like nobody, like if you're a complete D-bag and you're not aware of the effect that the words that you say have on somebody else, then like nobody's going to want to work with you.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're a top producer and you're with other people that aren't, like they just see you as arrogant. They don't want to be with you. And so, and at the same time, like how do you go build up other people? So if you have that emotional intelligence, especially coupled with good character, then you just want to go build up other people, and you have the ability to go do that. And then the other one is the self-discipline. Is like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing to test their self-discipline and push it? So like when I first started taking cold showers, I didn't have a time. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to take a cold shower every day.
Yeah. And
then I set the minimum of 3 minutes. I'm like, because I realized that was where it kind of started getting easier. Like after 3 minutes, your whole body's numb, and you're just like, all right, I can go longer. And then I got to the point where I wanted to see like if I could sing in the shower, so that like if Sarah was like outside the shower, like she couldn't tell whether it was a cold shower or warm shower.
Yeah. And
like, because my voice didn't quiver. So like, that's what I was getting to next. And I'm like, okay, well, what else am I capable of doing? And so I pushed it to where like my record was like 22 minutes in like taking an ice cold shower.
Wow.
And so, and like, I just continually pushed it more and more to see what I was capable of doing. And that's what I'm looking for. Because like, if somebody's doing that, if they constantly want to see what they're capable of doing, they're constantly pushing their self-discipline. Like that is somebody that I want to go build with, because that's somebody that their actions, who they are, like is very similar to me. And like those are the people I want to surround myself with.
Yeah, and I think you do a really good job of building people and building teams. Like you have a huge record of doing that. That's something I'd want to talk a little bit with you now. As of now, this interview, it's almost November, it's October. What are things you do with your leadership and your sales reps to help them be prepared to have a successful summer?
I think the whole building up until about January or maybe February is more of just building relationships. Because like when you're going to go do something really, really hard, it's go do it with people that you like. Go do it with people that you enjoy being around. So like I talk to team leaders, I'm like, go recruit people that you actually want to be around. Don't just go recruit some guy that you don't like, because then you're going to avoid him over the summer. And then that's it. When you go through something hard, you're not going to want to be around him. And when they go through something hard, you're not going to want to be around him and help them. So like you're not a good leader at that point. And so one, go surround yourself with people you want to be around. Go build those relationships so that they're deep, so that during the summer you have somebody that has your back, you have other people's back. So like that, I think all the way through until like January, February, like that is the biggest focus. Yeah. And then the whole shift afterwards is, I think, self-discipline. I think the sales skills come. I think it's sprinkled throughout the whole thing. I think throughout the whole summer, it's building on that and like developing that. But if you don't have the deep relationships, like if you don't have people that you want to be around and your character is flawed, like your ability to make and keep commitments isn't there, and your self-discipline is gone, like then you can't sell well anyways, even if you have really good sales skills, because like you'll quit. Yeah. And so basically the end of February-ish throughout the rest until like the summer starts, it's all self-discipline. Yeah. So like at the very end of January, we're going to go do a polar plunge, which is kind of like a nice like kickstart to see like who wants to go do something challenging, who wants to go test what they're capable of doing. And then we'll just start pushing it from there. And I think we'll just do like that whole region wide, like throughout all of DC again, just go do a challenge where it's like take cold showers before summer and like just don't click snooze before, like the moment your alarm goes off, you get up, you can't click snooze no matter what. And like, it doesn't matter when you want to wake up, but just don't click snooze. And it's like that'll be the focus. And then once the summer starts, hopefully people are pretty prepared.
Yeah, well, I mean, that culture of discipline, like, let's not change it. It's great. Yeah. Let's keep it up. And another thing I want to highlight, too, is, like, I think to work with top-performing reps, you need to be one. And I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 years ago, you did 95 accounts in, I think, 12, 14 selling days. Yeah. And you won a tournament. And a question that you probably receive a lot, and I get, too, is, like, what does it take to have big days or big weeks in the summer? And how did you flip that switch of managing dozens and dozens of reps to focusing in and dialing in on, okay, now I'm going to go conquer this tournament?
Yeah, I was just looking at what needed to be done. And like that was it. So like there are certain times where I'm needing to lead from the front in who I am and like my character, or like being there for people and like talking to them, like going and knocking on the doors with them. I still sold 300 accounts that summer, but it wasn't, I don't think I sold really anything in June or May. Like I started out and I started building momentum with everybody, and then I finished it out with everybody. And then during the middle, I was just knocking with reps and I was building them up. But yeah, I started the tournament. I was like, I need to go compete, because some reps haven't really seen me knocking on the doors. And so like, I need to go prove to them that I can go do that. And so I can go build their trust. And while I was doing that, I was still meeting with 2 or 3 reps in the morning. I was meeting with people at night.
You were signing
and
people?
And then
giving interviews.
Yeah. So basically like it was a no sleep for a couple weeks straight. But Yeah, it's 12 selling days. And we sold, I think I sold 150 accounts serviced 150 accounts just during that like month of
August.
Of the competition. Yeah. But it was 95 in the 12 selling days just to finish it out. And yeah, and it was brutal because I wasn't really sleeping at all, but like that, I just had to go prove that I was capable of doing the sales skills as well as the discipline and everything else. It's like they stack on top of each other.
Yeah. No, I mean,
and I like winning.
And you're really good at winning. You do it a lot, pretty consistently too. And so when I'm talking to a rep and they're looking at like their future and like where they need to be the next 2 to 3 years, man, like I look at where you were at and where you're at now, where you came from, where you're at now to like where you're going to be. Like, what are like in the next 3 years, where do you see yourself and where do you see people working with you? Where are they going to be?
So in looking in the future, I more of look at who I am and what I'm capable of doing. Because I think that once you go make a decent amount of money, like you can go make it again. Like you're capable of going and doing that. And once you can go build a sales organization, or once you can go if you can go sell X amount of accounts, like you can go do it again. And so in next 3 to 5 years, like I want to go be the person that is, I'll tell you my first question of that. I want to be financially, spiritually, physically free. That's free as in like I'm independent of all that. That if I wanted to drop everything, I wanted to go serve like a mission for my church, or if I wanted to go do some humanitarian or whatever I wanted to do, like I could drop everything and I could go do that. And like that's awesome. That's the position I want to be in. And my goal is to help build up everybody else there. So that being said, like I want to go invest some money. That's why I would love to go buy a nice car. Like I'd love to go do all that stuff, but rather than going and spending $100,000 on a car, like I just take that and I put it in the stock market.
Yeah. And I take it in the stock market and lose it. So it's
which is good. I mean, you're here now.
Yeah.
You'll stay here forever then.
Exactly.
But that's the whole goal with that, is like to go build up who I am spiritually, physically, financially, so that I can go do whatever I need to in a couple of years. Like if I ever need to, like I love Moxie though. Like this is a vehicle for me. Like this allows me to go build up who I am and go build up other people. And yeah, so like next 3 to 5 years, I don't see me leaving anywhere. It's just who am I building up? Who's winning with me? Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, no, I'm just kidding. But like there'd be no other reason. Like this is the place to be. Like this is the best vehicle right now for me to go accomplish what I want to accomplish, increase my circle of influence, like do the good that I'm wanting to go do.
Yeah, this is the place to be because of people like you, man. And I think it says a lot about our organization that we've got someone like you that's chosen to be here for a while. And this is a question I've asked first-year reps and experienced reps. This job is really hard, and it doesn't get easier after your first, second, or third summer, especially as you're recruiting and you're building. Like, I feel a lot of pressure, like, hey, how can I provide value to Tanner? How can I provide value to these directors of sales? That being said, like, I think you could be successful and good at just about anything. This job is hard. Why do you keep coming back?
Because it's so rewarding. Like the people I'm surrounded with, like they're all alpha males, like or alpha females. Like they're wanting to go win. They're wanting to go see what they're capable of doing. Like that's fun. Like I like working with people like you. I like working with people that want to continually be better every single day, because then that forces me to be better every single day. So like selfishly, I like to be around really, really good people, because then that forces me to be even better than I would otherwise. Yeah. And so, yeah, like that, I think that's the biggest thing. And I think for somebody that's going out during the summer, if they're looking at what they want to get out of it, the sales, like you've helped me understand this the best, is like you don't need to go change a lot in the sales process. Like the fundamentals that have started since Jason started the company 20 whatever years ago, like those work. Like the knocking with reps works. Like the approach works. Like there's not, like we don't need to go reinvent the wheel. Like that's functioning. And so it's just making sure that you have the right people in the process. It's making sure that you're surrounded with people that you want to be around, because like that makes it all worth it. And like if they're building you up and you're actually enjoying your job, then you'll sell more anyways.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so for reps or people that don't know you, this may not be obvious, but for people that do know you, this is super obvious. Like one of the key ingredients to your success is you have probably one of the most amazing supportive wives that I've met doing this job. And just a little bit in this interview, like you've made a lot of sacrifices to be here, right? Like when you're selling 95 accounts in those 12 days, like you didn't see your wife very often. When you're recruiting, I mean, you're out here super late at night, right? So a common thing that I'll face, and you probably see too, is like reps that are married get nervous about doing this job, and I'm always like, my highest performing reps I've ever worked with have all been married. Their best years were while they were married. So anyone that kind of has that concern on their top of mind, like what advice would you give them to come out on the other side of the summer, not just with your marriage intact, but like strengthened?
Yeah, I think it's I'll tell you for me, like who I am is whether I was doing this, whether I was doing something else, I'm not the person that wants to go sit on the couch and do nothing.
Yeah.
Like at all. So like whether it's this, I don't want to turn off the engine. Like I want to keep going and doing something. And that's who I am. And so I married somebody that, like, starting correct. Like I married somebody that was okay with that would support like my drive to go do stuff and accomplish. Like, is that is what I want to go do. I want to go achieve. I want to go see what I'm capable of achieving and like go do it and see if I'm able to push what I'm capable of doing. And so that's the first part, and like just marrying the right person.
Yeah.
But that doesn't fix anybody if they marry the wrong person now.
Yeah.
But the second part is like I set clear expectations, like what I'm wanting, like who I am, and like our goals are in line. So like she uses the summer as well, like to go build up who she is, like her self-discipline, same way that I do. It's just they're just different vehicles. And so like I see it as a phenomenal opportunity. And my whole goal is wherever I want to be mentally present, like wherever I'm at. And so if I'm at home, I like to not be looking at my phone and texting and calling. Yeah. So that's just a massive emotional withdrawal. Like it's better to only be home for an hour and be present than to be 3 hours like texting or watching a movie or like not paying attention to her at all. And so that's my whole goal, is like set solid expectations, make sure our goals are in line. And like she loves the summer, like the opportunities that she goes and gets to do, like going and experiencing DC and like the friends that she gets to meet and like all of that. And like the friends that we get to meet as well, like building it together. So like we're one. Like, so everything that I go accomplish, like we're accomplishing.
Yeah. I mean, I remember from multiple cruises and events, like you're up there, you're getting guys super hyped, but there's Sarah always in the background helping with it's the event, the foods. I've even seen her jump in on spreadsheets, organize birthdays. Like, I think she's super incredible, man. And I feel like
I lucked out.
You did. And I feel like here at Moxie, like one of our most underappreciated assets, like we have some pretty phenomenal wives that help us do some amazing things over the course of the summer. Yeah. And I know time's short and you got to get going. You're going to be working with hundreds of reps pretty quickly. What, from a first year reps expectation, you're going to have lots of people competing for your time and your attention. What expectations can you set for them? In terms of working with you?
I think one, my whole goal is that every single leader that I'm working with is like hopefully better than me.
Yeah.
Like but I think the biggest thing is the culture that we're setting. And so my whole goal is to go work with everybody and get to know every single person that we're working with. And I'll be living out there in DC like the entire summer too. So like that's because I don't want to go sit at home and just like, all right, go knock doors. And then
you out there and you lead with your reps.
Yeah. So I'll be out there in the trenches with them. But the whole goal is to set the culture that it doesn't matter. Like they're going to be becoming better because of the culture that the leaders have helped incorporate into their teams. And that is a culture of discipline. That is a culture of just like the idea is that they have more fun here than anywhere else. They become better versions of themselves more here than anywhere else. And they go produce more here than anywhere else. And like the culture is that. And the culture is go do all three of those things with people that you want to be around. And it's like that's the culture that I'm trying to create. And like that's DC. That's how it's been for the past couple of years. And that's how it's going to continue to be.
It is, man. And your culture has totally sucked me into too. Like your discipline is definitely inspiring for me. And I think from anyone that's wanting to be a leader to a first year rep, like I feel like sometimes people may be intimidated by you or some of our leadership because of all the things that you've accomplished, all the discipline that you've developed. And like my thing is like, you don't have to be the most disciplined person. You just have to aspire to want to be disciplined. And if you have that desire and you plug yourself into your program, like the refinement's going to come. When you're surrounded by people that want to compete and be the best, that's going to rub off on you. As you're surrounded with people that are disciplined, you're going to become more disciplined. And as people are looking at like, where do I want to be? I just like, if you want to be the most of who you are, I feel very confidently working with you in your program, whether it's directly through one of your directors of sales, that's going to get pulled out of them during that process.
Yeah. That's the whole goal, is that, they just plug in, they go trust the process, they go do what they commit to do. And they're just surrounded by the people that are already plugged into the program. Like they have no other choice but to become better.
Well, I could talk with you for hours, man. I love you. I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for taking time to speak with me. I'm really excited to share this.
I love you too, Chase. I appreciate you, man.
Thanks, man.